All right, continuing on here. The divide Pathfinder has an interesting functionality that's kind of different, and you probably wouldn't just stumble across it. It allows you to cut objects with a line. And I would say I like it that there's a few other tools for cutting objects. And if you can use the pen tool well, this works great. This is what I normally use to cut something. Okay, so just to demonstrate, I'll make a circle. Okay, and I'm going to just draw a line across it. All right. So first, I'm going to turn off my fill. All right, and I'm just going to click there, click and drag here, and click there. Okay, and so if you watch this, I select both objects, hit divide, and you notice the two pieces of the line that were hanging off the ends just disappeared, and the object's now cut in half. Of course, it's still grouped, so I have to right-click and ungroup, okay? And now it's still selected, so I have to click on the background, deselect, and I cut the thing in half with a line. So let's back up for a minute here. And there's two rules, okay, to make this work. Rule number one is the line cannot have any fill on it, all right? So for example, if I put a fill on this line like that, right? And I go and hit divide, okay, it just does this, right? Which, because it considers this open part of the line where the fill closes between the two endpoints an edge, all right? So that messes it up. And the other thing is the line has to clearly extend beyond either end of it has to clear it out here, okay? So for example, you can't go like and end here or something like that, or right? It's because then if I try, it's not actually cut into two pieces, right? So so again, no fill turned on, right? This here is got the red slash, and it extends out on both sides. Both objects selected, divide, right-click and ungroup, click on the background to deselect, and it worked. All right, so let's do a little exercise where we try to use this. All right, so let's start with a rounded corner rectangle. I'm hitting the up arrow to get a slightly bigger rounded corner. And we'll make like a little landscape kind of a thing. All right, so I'm going to deselect so I don't change the color of this thing and turn off my fill. All right, so this will just give you some more pen tool practice because that thing will never go away, and an interesting Pathfinder exercise. So this will be the water, right? And when I finish my line, I just hit escape so I can start another one. This will be the beach. This will be some grass up here. Some shrubbery, I guess, and mountains. And let's put a circle up there. Okay, I'm holding shift down and make it so it kind of overlaps one of the mountains because we can do a cool trick with that. All right, so draw something like that. And remember, all the lines have to have no fill and they have to extend outside, except for the sun here. All right, so I'm going to now select all the objects and divide. And if you did it right, all right, let me back up mention one more thing. There's no benefit to having these lines in really close, okay? It doesn't cost extra to have more lines sticking out. So just let them run off there, okay? Anyway, divide, and I'm going to ungroup. All right. Now, so I can just click on objects, and remember, sometimes you want to put things back together again. So when you click on stuff, be careful to not move things. If you think you moved it a little bit, just Control Z. All right, so that's going to be the water. I guess I'll make it this blue color. And remember, you can also just drag swatches onto objects, even if they're not selected. This will be the grass, some bushes, mountains, and then the blue sky, right? And the yellow sun. And so let's change all the colors to something like that. And now, to make it look like the sun is behind the mountain, okay? We could select these two objects, right? And not have included the sun in the divide and send it to behind the mountain. But this is a good exercise to do it this way. So we want to select the bottom of the sun and the mountain and unite, right? Because divide makes a perfect cut and it'll put them back together again. You just have to remember that don't, that was an exaggeration, but don't accidentally move the thing when you click on it. So I got this. And also in this situation, we can't marquee to select multiple objects because we'll get stuff we don't want. So we click on that little thing there, shift click on the mountain and unite. Okay, color might change, but maybe a purple mountain. Okay, all right, so see if you can do that. Maybe this needs to be whiter sand. Anyway, so I'm going to move that off to one side and let's do one more exercise. Remember, keep these things because we're going to hand them in, right? Let's make a male symbol and a female symbol and make them interlock, whatever that means. Okay, so it's actually the female symbol is exactly the same components as this, just arranged differently. So that should be easy. So let's start out with that. So we'll make a circle, okay? And I'm holding down Shift, so it's really a circle, right? And I also hold down Alt because I like it instead of dragging behind my hand like this, it centers on the point. I just usually tend to do that because I find it a little easier to position. And space bar too, if you want to move it around. Well, and then you let go of the space bar to go back to scaling, right? Okay, so there's that. And then just going to make my stroke a bit smaller. And then I'm going to make another one, okay? Another circle that's a little bit smaller, just like we did this one down here. And then I'm going to make, let me move this up here. We're going to use a line again so we don't have to get them perfect. And I'm going to make a rectangle hanging down here. And I could just draw another rectangle for the cross piece, but I want it to be the same thickness. So I'm going to hold down Alt, drag a copy, put my cursor, I'm in the regular selection tool, right? Put my cursor where it goes to rotate mode, right there. Start rotating, hold down Shift to constrain to 90 degrees, and then just get right on this little thing and we can scale it shorter and roughly position. All right, so that's a start. So let's align it now. Remember, we have a line right in here next to our Pathfinder. So we select everything. We want to align it on a vertical axis, right? So I'm going to go here. Horizontal align. You can look at it either way. Horizontal align because it's moving horizontal, but it's aligning to a vertical point. Whatever. That's the thing. Okay. Now there's no we don't want to like vertically center everything because that's how we did this one, right? But we do want to vertically center the two circles. So I'll select just them and hit vertical align center. Okay, it looks like it was pretty close already. And now like this one, we can't do, it's going to take two Pathfinder actions to make it work. First, select the two circles and minus front. Select everything. Actually, before we do that, let's copy this so we can use it for the male symbol so they're both the same. So select all this stuff, okay? push down first on any one of the parts, of any one of the objects, shift to constrain, alt to copy, move to the right, let go of the mouse, then the keyboard, bada bing. Okay. So back to the female one, we select it all and unite. Now let's make the male thing. So I'm going to delete, I want to stick an arrow down here, right? So I'm going to delete this. And this easiest way to make an arrow, right, is with the polygon tool, triangle, so with the polygon tool. So I start drawing it and I hit the down arrow a few times like that, right? Or I can just click once and type in 3, okay, and that way I get one that's perfectly up and down. If you draw it like this, where you're using the arrow keys, if you hold shift down, right, it's already constrained proportionally. So in that case, shift just constrains it to be pointing up. And then we just need to rotate it. So we just get into we're in the regular selection tool, get to our rotate mode, start rotating, hold down shift so it snaps to 180 degrees, move it roughly into position, select everything, and horizontally center this guy, horizontal align center. And let's see, we already did this here, right? Because there's nothing in there. So we select everything and unite. All right, so we have these two things, right? And the question is, how are we going to make them stick together so they interlock? Okay, so let's get them into position first. There's a nice trick here that'll work great. So we start rotating. I'm going to hold shift down because I want it to be like that, 45 degrees. Okay, and you have to, when you position them, you have to see this little willow leaf, negative space in the middle there. You have to be able to see that. Like, you can't do it like this. We can't make them interlock like that. And don't make it overlapping so much like this that you start to create other problems. All right, so just make it so so you see that negative space there. If the male and female are too weird to to do this at all, like sometimes people make it with the inside circle is super tiny or something, or this box in the middle runs all the way up through it, and weird things like that, just redo it, just back up. All right, so what we'll do is we'll divide to cut all the edges, and then we'll unite to put back the edges we want so the two parts interlock. Okay, so we'll select the male and the female and divide. All right, and to do this, we will have to ungroup. Okay, and then with your regular selection tool, click on the background. So what I want to do is unite these three. See where my cursor is moving there? These three together, so they're healed. And then I want to unite these three together, right? So the other object is healed. But we don't want to unite these three and then these three, because we're basically, that would be taking the ring back apart again. Now, this is another situation where you can't use the marquee to select multiple objects. You have to use shift. It's a little easier if you zoom in, and so it's big like this. And it's also easier if you click the middle object first. Oops, didn't I ungroup those? I guess not. Ungroup, click on the background. Okay, so I click on this middle thing. And again, if you move it a little bit by accident, just Control Z to undo that. It won't, if you move something a little bit, it won't fix it. All right. So shift click on the orange above it here, and shift click on the orange below it here. Okay, so I have these three selected and unite. Okay, the color might change, but that's okay. All right, so this is healed. And again, we don't want to heal these three. We want to heal or unite together these three. So I'll start with the middle one. Okay, shift click on the blue one to the left of it, to the left and above, and the blue one to the right and below, and unite. Cool, Ed. So let's assemble all these things onto the page so we can hand them in. We don't need that thing, but I think we want these guys. So just kind of scale everything down. And when you scale, remember, hold down shift so it doesn't get all messed up. Looks good. And then so that's we might do a little more with the Pathfinder in the future, but if you got all this, you have the Pathfinder pretty well understood, I think. And again, the original rules are simple, but hopefully these examples we did is just kind of helping you to see how to use it, because I find that students don't really, when they're doing the logo and designing projects, stuff like that, they don't always think of it. So that's why I just like to practice a few things like this, so you can kind of get your head into Pathfinder mode. So all we got to do is File, Export, Export As, and it's going to be a JPEG. Use artboards, export, and hand that in. Okay. And also, any problems or comments when you hand it in, put those in the thread too, because that's useful to me.